Welcome to Counseling Conversations with Lone Star College Online, where we are dedicated to giving students the tools they need to maximize their potential and reach their goals. When students feel their best, they do their best. So let's talk. I'm Tamara Herod, and today we're going to be talking about sexual assault, prevention, and awareness. Sexual assault is a serious issue that affects millions of people each year. It is critical to have prevention strategies in place to reduce your risk. Today, we want to help make you better informed about what sexual assault is and provide you with practical prevention strategies you can begin to implement. Here with me today is Chief Sandra Joachim. She is our Lone Star College Chief of Police. In 2019, she was awarded the Medal of Valor for assisting a student in distress. We are lucky to have her here discussing this very important topic. Chief, welcome.
Thank you.
Please tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and experience.
Well, I appreciate that nice introduction. I guess this topic is very important to me because I am a mom. I'm a wife, a daughter, a mother, sister, and what I say a sweetie, which means I'm a grandmother. And I graduated from the police academy in 1986, if that tells you how long I've been doing this job. I started out my career with the Burnham Police Department, where the cows think it's heaven, where the Bluebell ice cream comes from. I worked there for about 5 years before I went to the Jersey Village Police Department, where I ended up retiring. And then in 2013, I came here to Lone Star College. I actually started out as a captain downstairs and then was promoted to deputy chief by Chief Willingham. You're going to hear me talk a lot about a program called RAD. It's Rape Regression Defense. I am a RAD instructor and an advanced instructor, and I've been so for over 15 years. So, and I really enjoy being here at Lone Star. We're it's more of a proactive, everybody loves us here compared to being on the street when the red and blues come on, no one likes you.
It's very true. We love having y'all here. Y'all are so helpful in so many ways, I have to say. So how is sexual assault defined?
Well, it's any non-consensual, unwanted sexual contact and against another person involving penetration. But it also is any type of sexual contact or behavior without the victim's explicit consent. Consent is huge. So just you got to think about alcohol and drugs. You got to think about mental capacity. And at any time, the victim or the individual can withdraw that consent.
Mm-hmm. Very true. Consent's very important, and it has to be ongoing.
Yes, ma'am.
What are the most common risk factors for sexual assault?
Well, number one, we probably can all guess, is alcohol and drug use, because excessive alcohol consumption actually leads to poor decision making, making individuals more vulnerable to becoming sexually assaulted. I can't tell you of all the years I've been doing this, of all the sexual assaults I've had to investigate, majority of them, alcohol and drug use is involved. Does that make you at fault? No. But it does affect your decision-making process. The campus cultures, there's norms and attitudes that minimize the seriousness of sexual assault in this country. And freshmen and sophomores are probably more at risk than the rest of the college, simply because they are what they call the new meat on campus. And unfortunately, the older students prey upon them. Lack of awareness and education, consent. I think we need a little more focus on consent. Once consent is given, it can also be retracted throughout the entire sexual process. So if you're, necking and kissing at any point, if it gets too far, you can say no. And I think our problem too is healthy relationships. The misunderstandings that we have of what a healthy relationship is in this country has been, I guess you could say, not something that we're real proud of, especially if you base that off of what you see on television. There's a power imbalance. That's also a risk factor. Situations where there are individuals such as faculty and staff with the students. There's a social hierarchy that can increase the risk of coercion and manipulation when it comes to sexual assault. Social settings such as parties, gatherings, and social events where large groups of people are present also creates huge opportunities for perpetrators to target and isolate their victims. And then unfortunately, underreporting stigma is still out there. There's fear of retaliation. There's disbelief that it happened to me. There comes a part where you want to blame yourself for something that happened. It's not your fault. I've heard so many times, well, I was drinking or I did this. It's not your fault. No means no. And the stigma there is it's still there with the reporting of sexual assault. So it discourages a lot of survivors from seeking help, and which is really sad because that just helps the cycle to continue. So by addressing these risk factors, we can have a little better way of having a prevention effort that will hopefully provide education and awareness to people, and hopefully we can drive down the sexual assault and make people accountable.
Absolutely. What are some proactive measures students can take to reduce their risk of being victims?
Educate yourself. Become familiar with the resources and the support services at your campuses. Trust your instincts. One of the things I teach in my self-defense class is when those little hairs stand up on the back of your neck, they're trying to tell you something. You should listen to those. So if those little hairs stand up, listen to them. It means that you're uncomfortable for a reason. Remove yourself from wherever you may be, remove yourself from the location, seek help if you need to. Setting boundaries, clearly communicate your boundaries and expectations with other people. Being mindful of alcohol and drugs. If you go to a party, make your own drinks. You don't know what is in the alcohol if someone else makes it for you. How strong is it? What else could they have put into it? Being mindful of the way it tastes. Be mindful of the way you carry your drink so no one has the opportunity of slipping any type of drug into it. Stay connected with your friends and your peers. The buddy system. I always tell your partners when go you go to a party with somebody, you should leave with that somebody and you should look out for one another. If I go to a party with someone and I see that that person went from 0 to 100 and they became intoxicated or they're acting out of the norm for that person, then I need to get involved because that means someone probably slipped them something in their drink. Plan ahead. Know how you're going to get home. Talk to your friends. Are you both going to drink? How are you going to get home? Don't wait until after you've had a few drinks to figure out that, oh my gosh, now I need to figure out how I'm going to get home. And then you take a ride with somebody that you really probably shouldn't be in the car with. Utilize your resources. Be familiar with what your campus has to offer for you. I think a lot of times we go to class and we go home, but there's so many things that our campus provides for us: sexual counseling services, health centers, campus security. We're here for your benefit. One of the things that I tell my officers all the time is if we don't have students and faculty, there's no need for us. My job here is to keep you safe, whether that's with information or with my ability to stand with somebody. Be an active bystander. Intervene if you witness something that you think is out of the ordinary. Speak up, offer support, take action if you need to. And please report the incident. If you experience or witness sexual assault, report it. I will tell you, we just had a case. If it wasn't for her friends coming to us, the case would have never got brought to our attention. She opened up to her friends. Her friends opened up to a faculty and staff member, and they advised the police. Now, do know that it's the victim's right to not file a report. But also, I beg you that if you don't file a report and don't tell somebody, that person will continue to do what they're doing to other people.
Absolutely. So much good information you just shared. All of that's so important. And one thing I really like that stand out is that gut feeling. That
Yes.
gut feeling is so important, and it's better communicated when you're not completely intoxicated. When you get that gut feeling, you feel uncomfortable, leave immediately.
Exactly. And take your friend with you.
Absolutely. Yes. Good point. Can you provide examples of communication strategies that college students can use to establish and maintain those healthy boundaries and consent within their relationships, or even if it's someone that they just recently met?
Right. I always say first and foremost, be open and honest. Be willing to listen to your partner's perspective and validate their feelings, or vice versa. If you're not ready for a certain part of the relationship to go forward, be open and honest about it. Talk about it. Remember active consent. Clearly and verbally communicate your willingness to engage in a sexual activity, and to what stage are you willing to do this. Ask for and respect your partner's consent before providing or before proceeding with any sexual activity. I think this is something that should be talked about prior to. And I know it sounds strange to sit here and talk about these things. You're like, well, because things happen in the moment, but that's what you don't want to happen. You don't want the moment to happen and you not be prepared. Set those boundaries. Don't be afraid to say no. No means no, which leads to the next thing is be respectful when you're listening. Practice active listening when your partner communicates their boundaries to you. Respect what those boundaries are without judgment and don't pressure them. Here's where the drinking comes into play. Not while you're drinking, not after you've been at the party, but all of these things should happen prior to. Checking in, be attentive to your verbal and nonverbal cues. If you're kissing one another, or you should know how each other reacts. If someone all of a sudden turns cold or their behavior seems to change, stop and ask, are you okay with what's going on? Do we need to talk? Nonverbal communication, respect those signals and adjust your behavior accordingly. Respecting rejection, that is tough. Respect your partner's right to say no or to change their mind at any point. Accept and honor those decisions without trying to manipulate them. And seek support. Support from your friends, trusted adults, or campus resources if you have any questions or concerns about the relationship. Don't hesitate to reach out to people if you need it.
Absolutely agree with all of that. What is the role of alcohol and drug education in sexual assault prevention? What's the role in that? And how can students make responsible choices in those social situations where those are there?
Huge. Alcohol and drug education play a critical role in sexual assault prevention. The impact on your decision making and the consent is huge. I will say that if a person is intoxicated, basically they cannot give consent. That is why it's crucial that you talk about those things ahead of time. If a person is intoxicated to the point where they don't know their name or don't know where they are, that person is incapable of giving consent. Understand those risks. Know about your judgment on both sides, whether you're involved in the situation or if you're outside looking in. Set those limits. Establish personal limits for drinking alcohol. It's easy for us to say, man, I'm only going to have 2 drinks, I'm done. But as we all know, one leads to another, leads to another. The best thing you can start to do is if you have some type of alcoholic drink, then the next one should be water. Then go back to the alcohol and go back to water. Set those limits. Establish personal limits. Know what your tolerance is. I was always made fun of because people would say I could smell the cap and I was drunk. But each one of us has a different tolerance level. Plan ahead. Avoid those situations where you may feel like you're going to be pressured into some type of risky behavior. And again, I'm going to say it, use the buddy system. Look out for one another. I always say leave the dance with the one you came with. Drink responsibly. Drinking responsibly by pacing yourself, alternating your alcoholic drinks with non-alcoholic drinks. Be aware of your surroundings. Respect those boundaries and seek help if you need to. Too many people are too afraid to seek help. It will make you feel better. And trust me, that is what we're here for. We're here for you. And the resources that you have are numerous if you would just ask.
Absolutely. What role does bystander intervention play in preventing sexual assault? And how can college students effectively intervene in situations where they suspect something could be wrong or they see a friend that is completely intoxicated and there might be a situation?
This one's big as well. Bystander intervention plays a crucial role. You should be paying attention to one another. You should recognize and respond to situations where someone may be at risk or harm. Like I said earlier, if you have a friend that goes from sober to drunk in 10 minutes, then you should interact. You should come into play. Either they're taking medication that's reacted with the alcohol or someone has slipped them something in their drink. Recognize the warning signs, signs of behavior that indicate potentially dangerous or unsafe situation. If that person becomes intoxicated, if you see someone trying to isolate one of your friends, or if your friends just look uncomfortable, then it's time for you to intervene. Trust those instincts. Assessing their safety. Before intervening, make sure it's safe for you to do so. We don't want you to put yourself in any type of risk. So know your situation, know your surroundings, avoid putting yourself in harm's way. Prioritize the safety. You could do something called what we call direct intervention. Direct intervention basically means you're speaking up. You're walking over and said, "Hey, she's had enough. She's coming with me." Offer support, even physically if need be. Clearly communicate your concerns, and while you're doing your intervention. Maybe you can do something called what we call delegating distraction. You redirect the perpetrator's attention away from the victim, such as you may spill a drink on them, or drop something on the floor loudly, or start a conversation really loud so people beside you can hear what you're trying to say. Draw attention by calling out or alerting others nearby to help intervene. Engage in a conversation. Only can read the situation that you're in. You might be able to engage in a situation where you can strike up a conversation that will disrupt what's going on, and it will create time. If you don't feel comfortable doing this, seek help. Find someone in the crowd that has not been drinking that can intervene. There's always somebody there. You just have to find that person. Supporting your survivors. If someone does disclose that they have experienced sexual assault or harassment, believe them, support them, encourage them to seek help from campus resources such as counseling services or victim advocacy organizations. There's a lot of people that are out there to help victims.
Yeah, such good information. Speaking up is so important. If you see something, say something.
Say something. Yes.
Refuse to ever be a bystander in any situation. Doesn't have to just be this topic that we're talking about today. Just refuse to ever be a bystander is really good information.
Yes, ma'am.
What should students know about the laws and regulations related to consent and reporting?
Well, when I hear this question, I immediately want to go, what laws? Because being a police officer on the street, which I was for over almost 30 years before coming to Lone Star, there wasn't a lot of laws or regulations regarding reporting until you get into the college atmosphere. In the educational institution, there's mandatory reporting. Be aware of mandatory reporting laws, which require certain individuals, such as campus officials, healthcare providers, and educators. They have to report these incidents of sexual assault and misconduct to law enforcement or to your Title IX coordinator. Understand the obligations that are mandated for these people to report. I've found that sometimes students will reach out to a trusted professor and they get upset with that trusted professor. I would always tell people up front, if you are a person that is mandatory for you to report, you tell that person up front, hey, I want to listen to you. However, I have to tell you this first. It is mandatory that I report these types of incidents. So if the person wants to continue to talk to you, they can. But then that kind of keeps the animosity away, that I came to you in secret. Well, you can't. There is no secret. Title IX, know your rights and your responsibilities under Title IX. In 1972, it prohibits sexual discrimination, including sexual harassment and assault, in educational programs and activities that receive federal funding. Lone Star receives federal funding. A lot of times I think the students are afraid to report these things because they're like, well, I have to go to class with this person and I see this person every day. That's what Title IX is for. If their investigation, Title IX runs their own investigation. If we find that there is a need to separate students, that is what we will do. And that way it keeps you both safe. Education, join workshops, go to trainings. There's educational events that focus on consent and focus on bystander intervention. Empower yourself and others to prevent sexual assault. And I'm going to say it RAD. RAD is Rape, Aggression, and Defense. It's a self-defense program that's only for women. Well, it's for women and men, but I am a woman. I only instruct for the women. And what it does is it gives you the confidence and it gives you the skills. There's hands-on, there's actually book work. But personally, I've been teaching the program for 15 years. I made my daughter go through. I went through myself before becoming an instructor, and the confidence level that I see of these ladies from the day they walk in the class and when they leave 16 hours later, the confidence I see in them, they're night and day when they leave the class. And know that there is confidentiality and privacy. If you report, there are laws that take care of you. Your name is not mentioned in the reports. You're given a pseudonym. We do everything in our power to protect the privacy of the victim.
Yes, absolutely. And that RAD program you mentioned, I'm going to go look that up and definitely attend that. That sounds like a very good program. I'm excited to look into that further. What advice do you have for college students who may have experienced sexual assault or harassment, or know someone who has? How can they report an incident and seek help or support?
Well, first you just tell the victims you deserve to be treated with dignity and respect and with compassion. There are people and resources available to help you through this very difficult time. Seek support. Reach out to trusted friends, family members, campus resources, and just know that you're not alone. Consider contacting confidential support services such as counselors or victim advocates. Prioritize your safety. Your safety is the most important priority, and it's essential that you take steps to protect yourself from future harm. Preserve evidence. If you are assaulted and you choose to report, then go to the campus authorities. Consider preserving evidence such as your clothing, any type of messages. If this person has sent you messages on your phone saying, "Hey, I'm so sorry for what happened last night. Are you okay?" Those little messages such as that can help the case. Photographs. Avoid showering, changing your clothes, cleaning the area where the incident may have occurred. You're destroying valuable evidence. Know your rights. Title IX and other relevant laws and policies. You have the right to report these incidents of sexual assault or harassment. And these people will put you in contact with different services and will make accommodations for the victim and for the suspect at the time to protect their legal part of the process as well. And practice self-care. Take care of yourself emotionally, mentally, and physically in the aftermath of a sexual assault or harassment. Sometimes it lays dormant. And just being a RAD instructor, I can tell you that I was teaching a RAD class, and one of the things we ask up front is if you've ever been assaulted, if you wouldn't mind telling us. Well, that's extremely private thing for a lot of victims. And we, during what we call the Red Man, where you put the skills that we teach you into reality, and you have to defend yourself against a Rad Man. And this lady got the Rad Man on the ground and just started pounding and pounding and pounding. And I was blowing the whistle to have her stop, and she wasn't. I literally had to go and grab her and pull her off of the Rad Man. And the minute I did, she looked me in the eyes, and I will never forget this. She says to me, "I was winning this time." For her, she had kept us bottled up for all these years and had never reached out for resources, reached out for help. You have to practice self-care emotionally, mentally, and physically in an aftermath of something so serious as sexual assault.
Absolutely. Seek support from trusted friends, family, and professionals such as counselors. So here at Lone Star College, you have access to counselors who are dedicated to our students. So reach out. We can help you. Well, any final thoughts that you want to add?
I would say just know that sexual assault is a violation of the basic human rights and dignity, and there is no place for this in our society. We have to learn to work together to challenge the attitudes, the behaviors, and the systems that we have in place that perpetuate sexual assault. We need to create environments where people feel safe and respected and valued, in places where people feel that they can come report these things. We must believe and support our survivors. We must amplify their voices. We must understand what they're going through and hold these perpetrators accountable for what they're doing. And I always tell people, invest in yourself. Self-defense classes. A lot of people say, well, I have my mace, or I have a weapon in my purse. Where is that weapon? It's in your purse. So self-defense classes such as RAD teaches you what to do, how to defend yourself with what you have with you, with your body parts, things that you have, your arms, your legs, your elbows, your knees, because your mace may not work. The whistle may be clogged. Your weapon may be in your purse. And don't depend on something else to keep you safe. So many times I hear, well, I have a dog. Well, I have my husband will take care of that. You should depend on yourself. And ladies and gentlemen, I will tell you, if you're going to take a self-defense class, you are not going to get anything out of a 2-hour class. Invest in yourself. What is your safety worth?
I love that. Thank you for sharing, Chief. Thank you so much for joining me today to share prevention strategies with our students. It's such an important topic, so much good information to get out there. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for inviting me. This is very close to my heart.
Awesome. Thank you for joining for sure. If you would like to discuss this topic more, make a counseling appointment and let's talk.